Ches on the base. Misha also could wait long enough. He's not here. Yeah. Misha also Kurdaikus. Somebody who was seized by temporary insanity. Somebody who's seized by temporary insanity. Now, this temporary insanity is, it's not clear from the Yerushalmi exactly what it is. Not clear from the Bible either. The Bible says it's some sort of demon. But, Mumaisa, it comes and goes. We're going to discuss that in the Gemara. Varme said, Kisvu get lishti. He said it when he was in the state of Kurdaikus, of insanity. He said, right again from my wife, obviously, lo mar klum. It's a meaningless statement. He's not in a state when he can have a get written. Amar Kisvu get lishti. If he said, right again to my wife, V'chzo Kurdaikus. And then, he said when he was lucid. And then he went into one of his non-lucid periods. The Chaz of Rahman, he said when he was in the non-lucid state, Al tichtavu, don't write the get. Ein dvar b'achonim klum, we ignore his latter statement. Because obviously the latter statement was made under the influence of his insanity. The early statement was made under the influence of his sanity, so we have the statement made when he's sane.
Defense against some to be used as a defense of your actions.
Of course it can, sure. Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Somebody who's sometimes insane. He goes through periods of lucidity and non-lucidity.
Just a general.
I don't manic depressive. Manic depressive is always sane. Yeah, it's a psychosis. He's a psychotic. Psychotic in halacha is sane, right? It has to be that you're at right. There have to be a raving lunatic in order to be insane. Okay, it's not the same thing. So they meant so nishtatik, a new case. If a person became silenced, meaning he lost the facility of speech, but he can still hear. Amrullah, and he said to him, "Nichtov get liishtecha." Should we write again for your wife? Birkin barosho, and he nodded his head. We check him 3 times. If he says that which should be no, no, and that which is supposed to be yes, yes, they can write the get and give it. Okay?
Hearing is an impediment to
Speaking. He can't speak. So how's he going to tell people to give his wife a get?
If he can't, but he can write.
Oh, so that's going to be the question if writing is enough. Here it says it's supposed to nod his head. Simon Shreiter. What is the sign of an insane individual? Somebody who goes out at night. Somebody who sleeps in a cemetery. Somebody who rips his clothing. Somebody who loses that which he's given. Ravuna says, you need all these criteria. The low came, if you only have any one of them, Hayotze Balaya, somebody goes at night, Kintrupis, maybe he has sleepwalking disease. If he sleeps in a cemetery, he might not be insane, he might be a Russia. He might be Hamakato Shedim, he might be sacrificing to demons. It's called those Latin American religions. Saturnalia, something like that, right? Santeria. Santeria. Van Karesk Suso, so he rips his clothing, or loses that which is given to him. Kinukis, which is some sort of disease, malady, obviously some phobia which caused him to be destructive. So you need all of these phenomena in order to make him a shoter. In order to say, it shouldn't say it's any single disease which is causing any one of these phenomena. Even if you have one of these simonim, then you're ready to be shoyta. However, says the Gemara, Rabbi Mistabra Rabbi Yochanan. If you look at me, makes sense. Rabbi Yochanan said even one of them makes you insane. However, it's got to be a specific one, which is that if you lose whatever they give you, that's insane. So as a person is given the stuff to safeguard, he always loses it, so he's an insane individual. Okay? Says the Gemara, why is that? Because even the most insane of insane, does not lose that which is given to him, if obviously it's significant. So if a person loses that which is given to him, is considered to be a kurdaikus.
where he puts me.
What?
Forgets where he puts me, so it's
Or
lost.
Albert Einstein doesn't care about it.
Yeah, but Mavi means intentional. It means intentional.
Oh, intentionally.
Yeah. Kudaikus emo echam kol elu. Kudaikus is not one of these things. Mao kudaikus, what's kudaikus? Rabbi Yossi hamis. We know hamim. We don't know exactly what that is, but it's some sort of disease which comes and goes. Asa uvdo kum Rabbi Yossi. A case came from Rabbi Yossi b'chad tarsi by a certain individual of the Tertian extraction. David Yavin le samik go achim. They were given red in inside of black. Now there's a couple interpretations here whether red means wine and black means meat, or red and black are two different types of wine. One is dark and one is lighter. Or red and black is a red object and a black object. But they would give him a blue red inside of black. Vavaloi. Now, loy could either mean he recovers or he became sicker. It means one or the other. Three different shots here on the page and all these things. So Achim goes on. They gave him black inside of red, and again, it could be meat and wine alone, or objects. Vavaloi, and he either in that case got sick as well, or in that case got better as well, or according to Korban's change of Girsa, Velo Avaloi, he would not become better under these circumstances. So basically, any of these, these couple lines of Yerushalmi.
You're trying to make them better if you'll succeed or not. You don't know, but they're not.
Right.
That's got to be wild.
But I think the Korban is correct in change of gears, so that initially it means something black and some inside something red, and he gets when he gets black inside of red, he would speak and become healthy again. And he gave him red inside of black, he would not speak again. Lo avaloi, he would not become healthy. Anyway, so whatever this case is, and again it could be any one, then several things. Zo k'daika shamur chacham. This is k'daika chacham say, and this part of the statement, poem shoyse, poem mecholim. Sometimes he's insane, and sometimes he's lucid. Now the thing is like this: there's the third stage here, which is insane, lucid, and in between. Okay, and that's going to come apparent from the next line. Okay, first you say when he's insane, is like an insane individual in all matters. When he's healthy, he's like a loose individual for all matters. As of the comment of Shmuel, now a case came from a Shmuel. Amar, he said, Karhav cholim, yitin get. When he's cholim, when he's saying he can give a get. Now, Shmuel kreish logish, the Shmuel kreish logish, and when he's saying give a get, there's more. The Reish Lakish actually stop it. Shlomo said when he comes saying give a get, no, Ruba the Shmuel Reish Lakish. Shmuel is actually more of a Chiddush Reish Lakish, because Duamar he says Cholum yitin get. What is the Shmuel says when he's Cholim he can give a get. Now Cholim, according to the way of Shmuel, is when he's in between stage. He's not yet fully there, but he's already out of the grips, the grip of the major insanity. So, in fact, according to Reish Lakish, he has to be fully lucid before you can give a get for him. But according to Shmuel, once he's approaching lucidity, then, or once he's climbing out of insanity into lucidity, you can still give a get. Okay? Says Maya, we know that cholim doesn't mean completely lucid yet, because it says on top of Lametesamah from Pasuk Yeshaya, Vatachlimeni Vatchayeni. It's two separate stages. There's cholim, which is on the way, and Chaim, which means totally lucid. So even a person's Cholim, he can still, if he's on the way to becoming lucid, he can still give a get. Rabbi Yaakov says, he spoke on Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yaakov Odeu Kudaikus Olav. If he's still in a state of insanity, we can write again and give it to his wife. Now it means he said when he was lucid, give a get to my wife. And then he went into one of his insane periods. So we can still give the get. We don't have to wait till he becomes lucid again. Reish Lakish says, stop it. No, he's got to become at least on the way to recovery. You can't give the get when he's insane. Okay? Even on his way to, even though he gets sanctioned again, when he was still lucid, once he becomes insane, that sanction falls off. Mechavashitase, or when he's insane, the sanction falls off. Mechavashitase, Reish Lakish seems sorry Reish Lakish himself. This problem we had learned Machlokas, Nischarish or Nishtatev, an individual became a deaf, mute, or insane, or Nishtamed, or went and converted to Christianity. Osho Basin Lecho Chelev, or Basin said that there was a point at which Basin said you're allowed to eat forbidden fats. Now, this is not really an issue by us, but rather an issue by Korbanos. Right? A person was set aside a Korban, and before he managed to sacrifice it, he became a deaf mute or insane, or he became a convert to Christianity or any other religion. Osho Basin Lecho, or a Basin rose, and Amaratza stick a Basin, and Paskin that you can eat Chelev. So then Rabbi Yochanan nitches chatos. Rabbi Yochanan says whatever korban he set aside can no longer be used, because there's a period which the korban was pushed off from the mizbeach. Why? Because of the time when he was either rebelling, which loses him the right to eat a korban, or he went insane, or because Basin came to a radically incorrect conclusion. It was motivated in chelev. Reish Lakish amar lo nitches chatos. Whatever chatos he set aside, he still continues to bring. The korban is not set aside. Now, if that's the case, there seems to be a contradiction. Because Rabbi Yochanan says, when you are insane, so your korban is pushed aside. But here Rabbi Yochanan said, if you commanded to give a get when you were lucid, that get could be given even when you went insane. So it's a contradiction. If that's the case, so the korban which was around when you went insane should also be a valid korban. Why does it become invalidated? And vice versa, according to Reish Lakish, shows that you can't give a get even if you commanded when the get was commanded or commissioned. When the guy was sane, once he becomes insane, the get cannot be finished, right? Or cannot be executed.
It doesn't make sense. He's saying that he gave a get, that it's a good get. He was saying, did he say when he gave?
No, he was commanded. No. He commanded to give a get, but they didn't execute his command until.
So you might have changed his mind.
Right.
And what about if he converted to Christianity on the get?
Well, actually, it's going to be an issue later on in the Masechta, but the Pashas he can still be Megarish.
He can still get it.
Okay? So,
Can't they force him to give a gift because he
He's a Christian. He's okay.
yeah, it's going to be hard to force
It's
it.
very hard to do anything with him.
It's not up to, I mean, you have to have,
He's out of control basically completely.
that's what it would seem. I mean, theoretically, I guess you could force it. I'm not even going to do it. So in any event, so it seems to be a contradiction, right? Whether at the time it's insane that pushed off his korbanos or not. So Reish Lakish amar lo nitches, Reish Lakish holds, Rabbi Yochanan holds yes, and Reish Lakish holds not. Rabbi Yosef Bun Amar, Rabbi Yosef Bun said, Rabbi Yochanan Muchalvei Shmaitzei, Shmuasa. Change around the versions of Rabbi Yochanan's statement. Lo Tei Rimbilsa Rabbi Yochanan, Pligam Milsei. That Rabbi Yochanan's statements try to argue on each other. The Mar Rabbi Shmuel Bar Abba Shem Rabbi Yochanan, or Shmuel Bar Abba said, one second. Shmuel Abba said, B'Shem Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan, Hagos says, if somebody's dying, Zorkin Oloa Midam Chotaso. You sprinkle upon him from the blood of his chatos, Midam Hashamo, and from the blood of his asham. How can you do that? Rabbanik Yisrael Amrin, we'll come back in a second. Rabbanik Yisrael Amrin, Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Yas, I'm sorry. No, I guess it's the end actually of the statement. The Marav Yishuv Rabbi Sher Yochanan goes to Zergan Lo Dam Midam Chatason Midam Hashom means Rabbi Yochanan clearly holds that even though he's a ghostis, and for some reason, which is unclear to me, regard a ghostis as being basically insane. Somebody's died as regarded as basically insane. Since that's the case, since his regard is insane, so So how can we sacrifice his korban? Right, at the time he's a ghost, maybe now the time that his korban is a korban of an insane individual. So therefore, how can we sacrifice it? So if we see that we can't sacrifice it, it must be Rabbi Yochanan holds that also a chatos of an individual who went insane or became deaf mute or whatever also should be able to be sacrificed as well.
Sure, he's saying he's allowed by das at that moment.
What?
Rabbi Yochanan currently holds that he's allowed by das in the status of a ghost.
Right. La das. Okay, it's a better term than insane, yeah, but lacking das. Lacking knowledge.
Interesting definition of ghost.
Yeah, it is an interesting definition. I'm not sure I fully understand it. Now you made it more palatable, but I'm not sure I fully understand it. So even, so it says more, so in order to make it consistent, we have to have Rabbi Yochanan always holding that the get or the korban, whatever we're dealing with, transcends the insanity and can be done even when the guy's insane, since the original request or demand or whatever obligation was taken when the guy was lucid. Okay? So it says, Rabban Gittin Army, Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Asi, Chad Kadem, Chad Kadem, they have same machlokes Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. Masisa be Rabbi Reish Lakish, or Mishnah seems sorry Reish Lakish. All right, it says, Kisu get the Lishto, Vachsu Kudaikus. The guy says, give a get to my wife, and he's bar Kudaikus. Then he said, Al Tichtavu, he says not to. Ein Varav Achron, include. Well, his last words are meaningless, right? So we see that
One second, lost my train of thought.
let me start again from that thought. Masisa be Reish Lakish, Mishnah is a Reish Lakish. It says that you can't transcend the state when you are insane. It says in Mishnah Kisu Gelish the also Kurdaikus Chazar Al Tichtavu Ein Bar Choin Klum. Right. When you're in the state of a Kurdaikus, we don't pay attention. We give the get based on your state when you were lucid. So we see your statement to give the get when you were lucid carries over to the time you were insane. So there's more no. What it means that a body can't give the get when he's insane. He can only give the get when he actually becomes healthy again. You know, I tried to find Or Sameach today. I couldn't find it, but the Sameach I learned many years ago when I was in Shalvim. The Sameach actually explains this machlokas, and he says a beautiful explanation. He says this really is contingent on how we define shluch l'shonim kamoso. If shluch l'shonim kamoso is literally, then that means that when the guy, the mishalech, is insane, so the shliach is also insane. You can't do the shluchos at that time, right? So shluch l'shonim kamoso means he literally becomes like the person who sent him on his agency. But if shluch l'shonim kamoso just means I can affect the transaction on behalf of somebody else. So I don't become insane when he becomes insane. Rather, I become, I'm my own person, right? So therefore, I can transact it even when he's insane. So that's the question: what the parameters of shluch shonim kamoso are, which operate here. So Shlokish obviously holds, whatever apostles holds that shluch shonim kamoso is very, very literal. Okay.
What the ladies will say?
Wait, Shlokish. Actually, it's not discussed here. It's a good question. I don't know. It's not discussed. I saw one of our crime discussing it today. The God on me mints, but I didn't look at it. It said she has to be know enough to preserve her get.
She doesn't know. At that time, they know they do say that.
Yeah.
She has to know. Yeah, they do say that. So she doesn't know.
Okay. So it says tomorrow. Naslaki he gave her get farmer and said, "Lo you get elomacher." Let it only take effect tomorrow. And Benasa Krudaikus. In the meantime, by tomorrow he became Krudaikus. The flew the Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. That's Machlos Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. Zorakla is Gita. Now or this is an obvious case. So it goes down say Zorakla is Gita. If you threw a get into a courtyard. Or he said, "Lo yiged el machar." He said, "It's only going to get tomorrow." And in the meantime, you became a kurdaikus. Also, tiflut Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Yavin boy. Rabbi Lezer says Rabbi Yavin has a question. Taram is Kirio, who took truma off of your dough. Amrei said, "Lo yeh truma el l'machar." You only want to be truma tomorrow. Finasa kurdaikus. He became a kurdaikus by tomorrow. To fluk the Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. Malos Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. Now, the Rosh Hashanah is a very cute shot. He says, how can we have to bring it on both cases? We know it's machlokas by get, it's machlokas by truma as well. So he says, no, by truma it's a big chiddush that's a machlokas. Reish Lakish, because truma can be taken off by thought, not just by deed. A get's got to be written. So the next, I might say, if you're kudaikus next after you're commanded, so it's the mice of the get has not taken place yet, so that's why Reish Lakish holds it's no good. But in the case where truma's really taken off by thought, so he had the thought when he still was lucid. So everybody might say that there, Reish Lakish doesn't argue. That's as say Reish Lakish argues there as well.
Truma can even be taken up by somebody else.
Yeah, right.
For that person, right?
Truma. No, well, yeah, sometimes, right. Yeah, that's right. Okay? So it says the Gemara, Amar Avzir says, Masisa Pliga Reish Lakish, V'leis Lekiu. Fine by seems sorry Reish Lakish, and he cannot sustain it. Haresh at Solu, the guy was crucified, or Maguyat, or drawn and quartered. Those are really good punishments in those days. V'ramas, and he said, he hinted, because he ain't talking no more. Well, he said, he hinted at Vara and said, Kisu get li ishti, your wife, whatever, however you alluded to this. So, Kaisa knows him, we write again and give it, assuming that it's still, with the assumption he's still alive, and the Neshama is still hanging around him. What about, how can you rely on that? Maybe he just went insane, because everybody goes insane shortly before they die, so at least when they die in such situations. So as more adopted Reish Lakish. Yet nevertheless it says we give the get. Well, only assuming he's alive, we don't have to check out his IQ, right? So V'leis Lekiu, and there's no way to sustain it other than say that it argues. Tyler Cheresh Toram, if a Cheresh takes of Truma, it's a type which should be Truma, well actually it's not a type, it should be missing the words. Osha Giresh, or if there was Megarish, it should say, and Gito get, so since the Cheresh is get, it's not a valid get, the ain't Truma, so Truma is not valid as well. On the Shigamliel said this is going to cause a conversation for the entire next page. On the Shigamliel says, by a matter of when is it true? So a person was married off as a cheresh, so then the get is not a valid get. If he was he was not mute to begin with, right? He was cheresh, and then he became one second. Yeah, I mean, Piquet, right, second last line. Yeah, Piquet, he was normal, and then he became Cherish, Kreisiv, and he can write, he writes his commands, and other people sustain his writing, and they write it in his behalf. Rabbi Yaakov, and Rabbi Yechiva Shem Rav said, Chalukin, Ala Shoinazeh. The rabbis obviously argue Shin Gamliel. Shin Gamliel says that the Shin Gamliel distinguishes between whereas the Cheresh and the Gitko, where there's nothing which can make him a Bardas, there's a Pekech when he's Charesh. Initially he was a Bikeach, and then he became a Cheresh afterwards, right? So it seems that the following Brisa seems to argue on this. So I mean, they said, because they said, Varmas Nisa Pliga. We'll tell part of the question. They said, this mission seems to argue, it says, if the individual became deaf mute, only states, or he became insane, Ain't a motilamis, you can never write a divorce. So it says more, what's the problem? Why could you write a divorce? Let him write a divorce. Let others sustain that this is his handwriting. Right? So why can they get work on these circumstances? So it says, Mark, Kiyamnu, we said it doesn't work, where he doesn't know how to write. Okay? So in that case, there's a machlok. I'm not making this clear. There's a machlok. Machlok is a term. The Gemara says machlok is a term. Shir Gamliel Tanakama. Shir Gamliel holds that you can divorce via writing, and Tanakama we assume we don't have the Tanakama. We assume he argues. And you can't divorce via writing. Okay, you have to actually verbally command the individuals to write your get for you. So it says here. This Mishnah says, Rosh Gamliel says that you can't use writing, right? So you can. So what do you do with this? Which it says if a person became cheresh or nishtadeh, why can't you just write it down? Let him write it down. Let others sustain his writing. So you could do that. We'll just tell you about a place where he doesn't know to write, right? So it says tomorrow. Wait a minute. Hey, Sisa Pliga, the following Bryce argues as well. It says, if you wrote on in your own handwriting, and more or less, tell this over to write to get the custom, and they wrote it. Tell the Adam to sign the get, because when they signed it, even though they signed it, and even though they wrote it and signed it, and they gave it to him, and he gave it to somebody else. Hey, no, get. It's not considered to be a get. It's all part of the brisa.
He gave the get to somebody else?
What?
What did he give?
Did everything right.
No, he did everything right.
Did everything right. Everything.
Okay.
Except that he wrote it down. As opposed to verbalizing his desire to give his wife a get.
But, yeah, right, yeah, but he did, yeah, okay.
That's the answer.
What does it say for Chazar?
What?
What does the Chazar read? Sounds like he changed his mind.
No, it doesn't. I don't think it makes a difference. You're asking a question because I think it means just in turn.
He turned around and gave.
Yeah. Okay. So it seems to be a machlokas, right? Whether the writing is enough, or need some other.
You need to verbalize it.
Need to verbalize it, right? So Rabbi yesterday said, "More the best revelation of please." Let's look at the safe. It won't be a machlokas. I'll tell you how we can reconcile everything. It says, "Eino get ad shishmus kolu." It's not again until you hear his voice actually speaking. Amar leSofer. So what does he say to them? Amar leSofer. So it says to the sofer, right? Later, it says to the Adam, sign. So it says more. Put in the below from the end line here. Below, so if Dovrat Shishmas Kolo, it doesn't mean that you have to actually hear him say that, but rather, Afil Hirkin Arosh, even if he bends the head, that's sufficient. So what do we see here? Ba'ata Marachain, this Tana does not, how can you say this Tana, you're going to say this, that this Tana argues in Shin Gamliel? It says here, one second. What? Could be. Vatamar lace cane, right? So now skip talk of the next four words. Ramana said east cane. Let's have another there. I'm getting a little bit confused. It's my fault. It's a confusing type of Gemara, but let me see if I can sort it out. Let's go back a couple lines. let's go back to Hesvarai Bar Memo in the it's called all one long run Bryce, one long run on Bryce on the fourth line down. Hesvarai Bar Memo, Bar Memo asks, "How Masisa pleaded?" Following Bryce seems to argue on Rosh Gamliel. If you wrote in your own hand, in your own hand, Armla Sofer, and you wrote the following: tell the Sofer, you told the Sofer, the custom, the Sofer actually wrote to the Sofer wrote the get, laid him, and he wrote to him the custom when they signed, even though they signed it, they wrote and signed it, the Nasnul, and they gave it to him, the husband, the chazim and aslan, and then he gave it to her. Ain't no get. It's not about get. Wait a minute. What is Shingam Shingam says it should be about get. The Shingam says you can write the directive to issue a get. So Rameyos here said no. More about look at the next line. Blessed no plead. In other words, it's safe. It says ain't no get at Shishmukol. It's not again until he hears his voice. What does he have to say? Armel Sofer has to say to the Sofer, right? So then Chasoma to the Sofer to Aini has to say Chasom to sign. Now, says the Gemara, there's a problem here. Now again, let's throw in the word velo from the other line. Velo sof davar chishmas kolo. This is all part of the brisa. It says the Gemara. It's all part of the brisa. Velo sof davar chishmas kolo. You don't have to actually hear his voice. I feel like in Rosh all he has to do is nod. That's a contradiction. At the Reisha, you said writing is not good enough. In the Sefer, you said nodding is good enough. The Reisha Taka Kasher and Shin Gamliel. Shin Gamliel says writing is enough. This Reisha says writing is not good enough. But the Sefer says nodding is enough. Yeah. If nodding is enough, surely writing is enough. Don't write that makes no sense. How can nodding work and writing not work? That's a kasha. So therefore, can't either Shin Gamliel. We initially thought from the Reisha either Shin Gamliel. Shin Gamliel says you can write in, give my wife a get. And this seems to indicate you can't write it. But then it goes on to say you cannot. You know, you go to your wife and you go, and she should divorce, And that divorce, that should be a cause for divorce. That should be a cause. Sounds like that's our cause of rosh, divorce. Divorce, you go like that, right?
The writing has a name on it?
No, he writes it in his own hand. It says he writes in his own hand. So there are no edim on it. So this price is clearly something wrong. But you don't need, but the price is stressing because of the Xavier.
That might be a problem. In his own hand, he could say, can't he?
What?
If he wrote in his own hand, he could even be a sofer. He could write it out.
Yeah, but then he doesn't need it. Yeah, but it's true. He could.
You can have a witness to sign it.
True.
So it's still not good.
Right. So that's the question. So how come nodding is good?
How did they know he wrote it?
What? It's his handwriting or witnesses. No, but it's not talking about the witnesses. He's throwing in maybe they're witnesses, but you don't need witnesses because it's his own handwriting. We know it's not forged. It's not better, but it's.
But still, what about with witnesses? And his own handwriting, and still somebody would argue on that.
Yeah, it's belt and suspenders, but Lamaisa, it's still not good. It seems to the ratio and price, it's not going to work. Not going to work. So it's contradictory to Shin Gamliel. Yet then the price seems to indicate that Hurricane Rosh is sufficient. So they said, so Vatamar, so you want to say Leiskan, it's not going like Shin Gamliel? Can't be. So therefore, it says the Gemara, actually, the Gemara doesn't say it explicitly. So therefore, but if you did write it down, the Moshe somebody says here, when the ratio is no good if you wrote it down, not because writing itself is no good, right? Because constantly lomim son l'shliach. You can't give a shliach to somebody else to give to another shliach. You can't. Mile means literally words cannot be given over to a shliach. So when the ratio say about what you wrote, Ruvain wrote to Shimon that Shimon should get Levi, Yehuda, and Yisachar to be involved in giving the get. That doesn't work. It's got to be the next step. Ruvain asked Shimon to write the get, right? And Levi and Yehuda to sign it. But for Ruvain to ask Shimon to get Levi to write the get and Yehuda and Yisachar to sign it, that doesn't work. Because yeah, but we're not talking about what's his own shliach.
Yeah, that's different. Well, if the guy's losing his mind, he's talking about it.
Well, no, we're finished with the guy's losing his mind. Okay, well, actually, we're not finished. I take that back. So it says, Va'at Amar Leiskein. You're not going to say it works out here? Now take out the next four words. Our Ramona says, East Kane. No. It does argue Rosh Shimon Gamliel. Because he shmias kol here konasarosh. It is better if somebody says something or nods his head. Nodding head is a better sign than writing. That's what you say. The reason given, nobody's sure exactly why. It should be a better sign. Better sign. But somebody wants to say that Kavanaki wants to say in Chumas where the parallel sugi is that nodding you show something with your body, so therefore it's better.
With your head, with your neck.
With your head.
And that's where the voice comes from.
Well, I don't know. That's a chaf. I don't know if that's it. But the pshat is that if you nod, you show the body. But if you write, some people write distractedly. They take things and write things and not paying attention. So there, Ataka Konasarosh is considered to be better than writing.
What would they say in the Dutch world? They would have their comments understood.
I don't remember. I didn't get a chance to look at this. I think that they have basically the same gist of it over there. Same, more or less the same gist. So in any event, it says the Gemara, Rabbi Zir boy calling Raimana. Rabbi Zir asked for Raimana. Do we say, if you're saying that nodding and talking the same thing, we say just like you nod, you have to test the guy 3 times to see if he knows what he's nodding about. The Kabbalah says Yishmu is Kol Shosh Panim. Says you have to speak 3 times and say give a get, give a get, give a get. You know, like mutulach, mutulach, mutulach. It's just want to know. So there's a difference. If he says he's lucid. If he just sings something, then unless we establish a pattern, we don't consider it to be of any significance. Says Rabbi said, Talmud over there by the Brisa Shugamil says you can write in your permission. But Oimer Kach it's only retroactive. Now Oimer of course means to verbally express, but here he's writing. So Omer is lav dafka. It's not. There's just a generic verb. But Oimer Kach you're believed to say you did so and so. However, Oimer Kach asu. When you say do something, then we don't give you permission to do it in any way you want. So that's what we're saying, that a person can say he did this and the other thing. However, to say do this and the other thing, that's of limited, and not everybody can say that. Okay? Yeah. What is this here again? We're trying to resolve. Oh, of course, the Brisa Rishon Gamliel, which says Ksiva works, with this Brisa seems to indicate that Ksiva doesn't work. So where a person writes, this is what I did, that's where he's believed. When a person writes, do this, then he doesn't have credibility, that doesn't work. Okay? Rabbi Balevi boy asks like this. We'll just skip the next 3 words. Im yesh bodas laba, it has got not intent or wisdom in the future. Yeshudas trava, that should work for the past as well. Ein bodas laba, if he doesn't have intent for the future, ein bodas trava, he has no intent for the past. In other words, if we're distinguishing between intent and awareness, so there should be no such distinction between the two. Okay? Says Gemara, right? There should be. Whether it's past or future tense, it should be believed regardless. Makes no difference in past or future. If you accept the ksiva, you should accept it regardless. So therefore, he rejects the dichotomy based on whether the language written was in the past tense or future tense. Says Rabbi Abba, we just said sorry. Rabbi Abba said b'chevesh on a kayomi. Very interesting answer, actually. He says the Brisa, which Rabbi Bar Memo brought on top, which says that ksiva doesn't work, right? If you write together, it doesn't work. So that's talking about where the guy was a cheresh, he was a deaf mute, okay? Where he's a deaf mute, so then cheresh no kayamim, vein shlichus l'cheresh, there is no shlichus for a cheresh. There's no shlichus for an individual who is deaf mute from the get-go. Now, this is interesting. Dichotomy. If you have an individual who was initially, Rabbi Shimon is saying, an individual who initially was lucid, and then became a cherish, he can write again through Harakana. A person who was through Ksiva. And this, right? Okay, the price on now for Shimon Gamliel, where it says Ksiva works, that's a person who actually was lucid and became a cherish. The Bryce over here on basically says that Ksiva doesn't work. It's a person who's always a cherish. Why is that? Because a cherish cannot appoint a shliach. Now the thing is like this. It's difficult because what? Because this Bryce over here says that he can divorce, right? So why can't he make a shliach? So he wants to say that in order to write a get, the Kavanah wants to say, in order to write a get, you just need to reveal, a regular get, you just need to reveal what your intent is, right? However, when you are trying to appoint the shliach, so then you have to transfer your das to somebody else. And since you only have very weak das, you can't transfer it to somebody else. Very strange part, but that's what he wants to say, that a cherish can't appoint a shliach. A cherish can give a get, but a cherish can't appoint a shliach because a cherish has das, but not enough das to vest somebody else with that das.
He originally was not a cherish. He could have done
through writing.
Yeah, that would be okay.
Yes.
But not through shliach.
No, he would be able to do a shliach.
If he was originally normal and then became cherish.
Yeah, because then we assume he knows what he's doing.
So then the writing he can trans?
What?
Can he get a shliach to take the writing?
Yeah. You write it to a shliach, it says right together.
Yeah.
He originally wasn't the deputy. He would be able to say a little bit. There'll be a certain amount of speech he would have anyway.
Someone that becomes deaf later in life still can speak.
Yeah, he has a certain amount.
That's where Shmuel's part was lucid and fine, healthy, until all of a sudden he became paralyzed. Now he no longer can speak, right? Law may not get. Why in that case do I say that on the Rabbi Menel says it's not a valid get? Because that Bryce Rabbi Menel said, because I say maybe he's involved in his other documents which he has. In other words, we don't know for sure he's focusing on the get. The time came, we also learned that when does Ksiva not work? When he became all of a sudden paralyzed. But if he became paralyzed through sickness, so then it's sufficient one time. Now, what does sufficient one time mean? That's going back to our kana. An individual who suddenly was stricken dumb, he has to go through 3 times testing with nodding. An individual who was gradually became stricken dumb, so he only has to be tested 1 time. Okay. So the bottom line is that we have this. Rishonim Leah hold that the kasav ksav yodo, if you're to write again, is valid. And we haven't found anybody actually who explicitly argues on that. We tried to find somebody who explicitly argues on that, but somebody says the person pre-action is charish, and then said write again, so he has credibility on that. Okay, says more when you test him 3 times, we have to crisscross him. It's really not. It's really 6. Says Mara. What do we ask him? First, we ask him should he write a get for his wife, and he says yes. We ask him to write a get for your mother, he has to say no. We ask about his wife, he says yes again. Vitcho, he asks about his daughter, Vuomer Lam, he says no again. Lishtcho for his wife, Vuomer Hein, he says yes again. Lachoscha for your sister, Vuomer Lam, he says no again. So we have to ask him all these questions over again by yes, no, in order to get a pattern of 6 yes, no, in order to achieve that he's saying. Right? Says the Gemara, also if we have testimony to say that somebody died, and want to be matir his wife, who's an aguna, we accept that based on the 6-time check. Aser Rav Yerushalmi Gittin said, he said also by witnesses we say the following. Other made a dusim Yerusha. A person comes to court, even though witnesses shouldn't stand, he can be witness. But the evidence sat down, it's okay. Other made a dusim Yerusha. Up in Dorim, Kane, and so the when the Dorim, it's the same thing. Now, the way the Course of Mail translates, which is different than everybody else, he says that anybody can be mafir neder, any husband can be made for neder by nodding to that he wants to be made for neder. Okay? Annul his wife's vow. Just by nodding, right? If he can't speak. Right. Time sheshes because shevish both give us a Gittin shlosh palmim. This is where you take him out 3, check him out 3 times by Gittin. Kach bino both give us a bushus mekar so by all the areas of commerce we check him 3 times on each side, by inheritance, by buying, selling, and by gifts. Okay. Halacha base. Amula nichtov get lishtcha. They said, should you write a gift for your wife? Amen. So he said yes, right. Amula cipher. They said the cipher to write. Because of when he wrote, when they signed it, even though they signed, they wrote it and signed it, and they gave it to him, and he gave it to her, it's not about get. So he can't tell to a third party to tell the sofer, because that's kind of mili l'mim shliach. You can't give her overture agency, so you only give her agency on the object, so therefore he has to tell. It's only considered to be a get if he says to sofa right and to the Adam sign. Okay, is that clear? Yes, he can't be remove the step. He has to be that step. There can't be a step in between. It says if he said to 2 people, Emir Leploni tells so and so shichtov that he should write. Leploni and so and so that they should sign. Rabbi Yirmiyah said, "Ma'aser be made Rebbe." In such case, days Rebbe already said, "Le'as came so you should not do it." But the L'chatchila doesn't work. Ushmo ma'yaseh v'yaseh. Shmuel said, "Even b'diavad, you may do it. You may do it." Okay. So it says the Gemara, what's going on here? Actually, the Gemara doesn't say. It it's somebody says here on the side. Yeah, the Pnei Moshe explains that we're afraid that maybe they're going to put on a sham. Right? So that's why Rebbe says you shouldn't do it. Tell 2 people to tell another individual to write a get and sign it. Because maybe then people are going to say, well, so-and-so told us to tell you to write a get. It leads to abuse. Okay, so it's got to go direct. Shmuel says, even go indirect. Rabbi Yirmiyah Shmuel Amar Shem said 2 people, Imel Ploni, tell so and so, Shichtov that he should write it. Vatem Chasom, will you sign it? So in that case, now the case over here, the critical component in this case, the Pnei Moshe throws in, is that even though they were told to sign, they didn't sign. Okay, in other words, he said, well, unsigned. Well, they got other people to sign. He said to 2 people, tell so-and-so that you should write, and you sign. And they didn't actually sign, they got other people to sign. So, Amar Le, I raise a get. It's considered to be a get. El Shadav Tzarech Talmud, it's not clear. I mean, it seems you could get, but it's not cleer. So, V'chalfa, she tossed it to Shmuel. We have a contradiction to Shmuel. Tam Nomar, Omer, Yaseh, Yaseh. Initially he said, let them continue to work. V'chamar Acheni, he said, not to. So says the Gemara, Shani Yohi. Shoshana would say do so. Here it's different that they changed their testimony, which means they didn't do what they were told to do. If they were told, you may go and recruit other Edom, that's fine. But they weren't told that. They were told, you be the Edom yourselves. If they then went against that, so then they have and then obviously they rebelled against the terms of their shlichus. Their shlichus is null and void, and therefore it's not a valid get. Right?
Is there such a thing as without witnesses? You can get it in those days?
That's said witnesses.
You had to have witnesses then?
Yeah, some witnesses you had to have.
You couldn't get a get, give your wife a get without witnesses.
No. Well, but the rights you could, but by this time they weren't doing it.
Oh, not anymore.
No. Okay? So it's different whether they fulfilled the terms of their of the mission they were given or not, right? So Shani Shishinu Sedusa. Says more Nichol Edim Echosmu. I had said if you told the Edim to sign and he signed you told the Edim to sign and they signed. I'm sorry, I forgot what it is. You told your emissaries to get Edom to sign, and the Edom signed. That's no good, because that's not the case, is it? Well, it is the case. In a case where they were Mishana they were told to do it themselves. They told other people to do it, so they understand that it's not a valid transaction, right? However, what do we care if you told them to have a sofa, if they told some other sofa to write it, other than themselves? What's the difference? Who cares who writes it, right? Later, the plea Rabbi Yochanan seen the Sarah Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan because of Tarfo b'tofes kosher, allowed to write a form with almost the entire get. So what's wrong here? So Pastor Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda Paisel b'Taifsin. Rabbi Yehuda says you can't write an entire get ahead of time. You have to leave a blank custom writer for the occasion. Okay. This is your get when I die, or if I die. This is my get. This is your get when I pass away from this disease. This is your get after my death. None of these are about getting because they take effect after death. Be said, let it start from today when I die. From today when I die. From now if I die, I raise the get me'ayom. Is a get from today, and that works. I raise a get. It is a valid get. Sorry. Me'ayom malach misas. If a person said from today and after my death, ain't no get. That's not a valid get. And because misafi, if he mace, as the guy dies, chalitz is on misafi. Chalitz is done or not. Even the one is going to explain. This is your get when I die. This is your get when this illness overtakes me. Get my get after death. It's not valid. Rabbi Seinu said it is a get. Now, who's Rabbi Seinu said it is a get? They actually said that if a star the get has a date in it, that we say that the retroactive beginning valid date of the document is from the time written in it as the date of the get.
That doesn't make sense.
It does. It's like saying Me'ayom. It works from today and on in.
But that means that even if he doesn't die, that the get has to go through. What if he doesn't die?
Everybody dies.
Maybe he dies 10 years later.
So what? So then 10 years will work retroactively from now.
So it means the get takes effect 10 years later?
No, it takes effect now, retroactively. Right.
It takes effect now, in that case.
Right.
By the day.
Right.
By the day.
Right.
So if he dies, so the dies part is superfluous.
Right. Okay. So nevertheless, Rabbi Yehuda Nossi was matir this case of where they said lo amar klum, the racial case over here. Now, Rabbi Yehuda Nossi is not our Rabbi Yehuda Nossi, but rather his grandson. B'shlosh nikomas nikra Rabbi Yehuda Nossi Rabbi Seinu, 3 places called Rabbi Seinu. Where's that the Gittin? In our case over here by Gittin, where he said that all these Gittin with the postal languages are valid Gittin. B'shemen, by oil of goyim which he permitted, Vasano by sandals sandals means if a woman miscarries, aborts a fetus, and it looks like a sandal, it's not makabel tuma. So if Yikulu basin shari, if it's matis so many things, let them call him a lenient basin, which is like a derogatory term, right? Basin was matir. So Moshe call basin shematir shloshitvar and Yikra basin shari. Any basin like that is called basin shari. Let them call basin which is lenient. Rabbi Shmuel basin cholokulav. His basin argued upon him. I mean, they wouldn't let him be makel, and specifically by Gittin, right? Should be basin cholokulav be Gittin. Okay. Why it's based on Gittin? They said that these Lashonis don't work to marry to get a woman of freedom. Unless you say, Gittin, in other words, even though you said Me'ayom, which indicates that, or where you wrote you wrote a date into the star, nevertheless it's a meaningless gesture. Okay?
You say it doesn't work.
It doesn't work from today. Right. Rabbi Yehuda wanted to say make it work, the Gemara says it doesn't work. Okay? Says the Gemara, the date is not significant enough. Begitin Maushete Muteres Linasei. Says Mar, okay, but what about Rabbi Hussein who said that it's a get me'ayom l'achar yud beis chodesh, right? Then there's a valid get retroactively from now. What about if the guy died in the interim? He died within the 8 months. So you have to wait for the full 12 months before you get remarried, or can he should get remarried now?
Oh, you have to wait 3 more months.
Yeah, when he dies,
Forget about the 3 months.
When he dies,
A guy says, this should be your get from today if I die.
if I die.
With the next 12 months.
Oh, the next 12.
What?
Oh, we said that a future gets.
He writes me'ayom, not just the date.
They said that it's the date.
Right. So what about if he dies 6 months into a 12-month period? He says, this is going to be a get if I don't come back within 12 months. And he dies after 6 months. So does he have to wait for the full 12 months are up, or does she have to wait for the full 12 months are up in order the conditions be fulfilled, that he didn't come back after 12 months, or should he get remarried right away? Or 3 months later, but before the year is up.
Well, like they did when they went to war.
Right.
Right.
Right, exactly. Like when they went to war and would pay based on it. So it says, Rabbi Machlokas. Rabbi Chagai, Marmatasi Nasser, Esmer Asruli Nasser. Why? Very strange reason, I don't understand it. He says, Ani Omer Nasul Onisim Lechaya. Maybe he came back to life. Okay. Me'ayomi Macy. Me'achshir Macy. Actually, this is a new topic. Let's leave this for tomorrow night. We'll stop here for tonight. Okay, so tomorrow night we learn, and then that's it for this week. Lamaisa next week.